I'll pull up something I'm working on. I come from the pencil and papers era. I used to get a piece of score paper, blank, with all the musical staffs, and a piano, and write it, pencil and paper. Let's see. All that is software. Then they started to come up with music programs that actually I can play notes on the piano and it'll show on the computer, on the screen. And I can listen back to it. This is so far just trombones and rhythm. So that's what I do now. It's a time-saving procedure. Yeah. If I make a mistake, it'll tell me. We moved to the Bronx in 1942 at the beginning of World War II. I experienced what you call culture shock because the first 10 years of my life we lived in what they call Spanish Harlem. The majority was Puerto Rican and Italian, and they were in the Bronx. It was 85 to 90% Jewish. And I had no knowledge of the Jewish culture or tradition. The first morning I wake up, right next to our building, there was a synagogue, and I heard the Jewish cantor, So I have musical ears. I say, well, this guy's good. I don't know what he's singing, but he's good, I got used to living there, and all my fellow students, they told me all the Yiddish curse words.
Do you remember any?
Oh, yeah, but I don't want to repeat them here. One of my classmates in junior high school, he says one day, come on, I want you to come up to my apartment. I want to play a record for you. And he puts on this record of Coleman Hawkins playing Body and Soul. I had never heard anything like that before. It just blew me away completely. The beautiful improvisation plus the beautiful tone, his sound on the tenor saxophone. Every time I'd visit him, he always had good records, but I said, well, play Body and Soul. And around 6 or 7 months into our friendship, he said to me, look, I found a place downtown. It's called the Hartnett School of Music. And for $40, they'll give you 20 lessons and lend you a saxophone as part of the deal. And that's where we learned how to play saxophone. We played in bands together here in the Bronx. These were the garage bands of that era, but I would call them the living room bands because that's where we rehearsed in the living rooms. I was lucky to get into Juilliard as a saxophone major and to study composition, music theory, and I graduated in 1952. And I went out into the field to work. I bought this when I joined Tito Puente's orchestra. And as I mentioned before, it put food on the table. Yeah. This is Julio Iglesias. I put those Z's over my head because his guitar player had this obsession with the wah-wah pedal. So you get this wah-wah-wah-wah-wah-wah, and used to put me to sleep. Eventually, those Z's cost me that job. I was fortunate enough to be hired to do the music for the Mambo King movie. And the producer for the movie recommended me for a Life Achievement Grammy, and that's how I got that. Then there was lots of venues for Latin bands. And a lot of musicians used to live here in the Bronx. I played with Noro Morales, Tito Rodriguez, Machito and his Afro-Cubans, which were the pioneers in the style called Latin jazz. That mixture of blues, jazz, and the Afro-Cuban rhythms. Well, that's New York. You get all different music from everywhere. One genre seeps over into the other genre. The musicologists call that cross-pollination, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
A singer will come to me for a song. I will give him the song, but I will tell him, you go and take it to Ray. Have him arrange the song. One of the songs that you did for me was El Guapo del Barrio.
Wow, that's
you know Eddie Montalvo.
Eddie Montalvo, he's got a group now. Yeah.
He's put a new band together, and he just finished recording that song. Again.
Oh, El Guapo del Barrio.
After 60 some years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
How does it go, Mike?
Estaban tocando un baile los muchachos del solar y yo cogí a mi negrita y me la llevé a vacilar. De pronto llegó un paluca con careta de matón y creyéndose muy guapo quiso romper el rumbón. Yo al verlo tan imprudente no me pude contener y lo llamé para afuera para arreglar cuentas con él. Lo primero que le dije fue, oye, ¿qué te pasa a ti? Porque tú te crees muy guapo y eso de guapo no vale aquí. Tatarán, tan, 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 tan. Eso de guapo no vale aquí.
Está bueno eso, ¿eh?
He arranged that song for Louis Colón, his orquesta. And now we're working with Eddie Palmieri. What I'm doing is writing the lyrics. Eddie had me on the phone for about an hour.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I had customers, you know,
no.
and you can cut him up.
No, it's hard to stop him. Yeah.
It's hard to stop.
Yeah. Pues sí.
All the big names in the 60s and 70s, they were all
Barreto.
here. Ray Barreto,
Ray Barreto.
Los Quijano, Orlando
Quijano,
Marín, Mike Amadeo.
Right, Mike Amadeo, yeah.
I'm watching.
Ray Santos.
I'm keeping I got my ears open. Casa Amadeo, buenas. I came on the boat in 1947. I was 13 years old at the time, and the music was the main thing for me, because I was, trying to become a famous composer and all this, and I knew I was going to make it. I just knew it. My father was a great composer for the 30s and 40s. Alberto Titi Amadeo. Everybody knew my father. So that helped me a lot too. My music started being recorded in 1950. And there are at least 1,500 recordings of my music. I could get inspired very easily. I wrote a lot of songs about my mother, my father, my sweetheart, Maria. Con pocas palabras basta, basta, basta. The way we were being discriminated and all that, I wrote songs about that. One of my first songs that was recorded, it was about the way I was being treated, because I had dark skin, because I spoke Spanish. Put it on the record, and I've been lucky enough to have quite a few big hits. I took over this store in 1969. This was opened in 1941 by Victoria Hernandez and Rafael Hernandez. It was nice, beautiful. But then in the 70s, things got rough. The owners of most of the big buildings wanted to get out, couldn't sell, so they started burning the buildings in order to get the insurance money and things like that. And this became like a war zone. A lot of the buildings were abandoned, and this was one of them. I was the only tenant in this building for about 2 years. I had no water, I had no heat. I used to get up sometimes 2 and 3 times a night to come, because they were breaking and the alarm went off. I was young, I had a family that I have to support, and I was able to survive that. Things started picking up and business was very good. LP, cassettes, 8-track, 45 RPM. I used to supply every jukebox in the Bronx and part of Manhattan. You don't see that anymore. You go into a club, they have a DJ. You ask them for any song that you want, boom, they press a button and they get it. So, what am I going to do? Yo conozco la canción, pero lo cantó en bolero, porque como dice el bolero. ¿Sí? No matter how bad the business is, if you ask anybody in the street, I want to get this record, blah, 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 it says, Amadeo's the only one that can get it for you. If he doesn't have it, he'll get it for you, or he'll try it. And that's what I'm going on. That's what keeps me going.
Okay, que pase buena noche.
Okay, cuídate, chévere. All right.
We have to walk and pay attention, okay? Okay. We have to pay attention. Okay, now we're going, and we're on our way. Badu, you had a good day today? Good day, yeah. I was brought up by the most amazing parents. Taught me to survive, taught me to be a good neighbor as they were. Where are we stopping? At the corner, absolutely. And Miss Florence is telling us to cross. We came from Spanish Harlem, and it was a little difficult for me at the beginning because, yes, I was born in New York, but I was taught to speak Spanish first. And of course, when I got to Hunts Point, I spoke more English because there was a big mixture of Jewish and Italians. Book bag behind the door, please. Amazing, amazing. We were the first Puerto Ricans in this block, and this was our apartment. This is where I was raised. How was your day? What did you eat? Did you eat anything? No? Okay, sit down. I have macaroni and cheese. Are you going to eat the macaroni and cheese? When I became a mother, I just didn't know how to leave my children. Abadu, go wash your hands. I remember walking through the streets with my two girls, one on each side. I immediately, the name of the daycare, Eva's Kids. Eva's Kids, right next to her. Eva's Kids. They're going to be Eva's Kids.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I made flyers. I put the sign in the train station. I would take a train and go to the next stop and just staple my flyer. And in no time, I was overwhelmed with people that needed my help. What are you going to play with? I'm sorry. Sure, you can. Take the Lego man. How? Of course. You need the Lego man with the flashlight. Absolutely. The community started changing. It started changing, and we went through a lot. But I feel also it started changing because people, they talk down to our children. Because we're from Hunts Point. That really bothers me a lot. That can hurt a child tremendously, tremendously. So when I started with the daycare, there were so many parents that wanted to get out of the system. So I said, I'm going to charge in the cheapest I can charge them, or pay me with a gallon of milk or some rice, and help these mothers that they have come back to me and said, yes, I got the job at the Board of Education. Yes, I got the job at the post office. I saw mothers bettering their education. This was my goal. Wow, amazing. Yes, dear. I love that. What is it? Really nice. Very, very nice. Maybe you'll be an architect. What do you think? I have so many people that came to this daycare, and they come back as men and women, and they have brought their children to me. And they'll come with their stories. Oh my God. The most amazing story that I will never forget was if, let's say, they were acting up and they weren't listening. Be kind with the Lego man. Be kind. I said, I guess after homework, you'll have to see The Sound of Music. Oh no, Miss Eva, please don't give us The Sound of Music. That was one of my favorites. You know, they were up to here with The Sound of Music. That was like a punishment.
Good morning. The first 2 years were really tough. I was up here sometimes 16, 18 hours without going home. The kids used to say, Papa goes to work when Mommy goes to bed. We used to meet in the hallway like that. Oscar, don't forget to look at that box of shelled walnuts. You did it already? I'm 85 years old, and I've been doing this since 1949. I still feel good. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. I need some garlic.
What kind do you want?
What do you got? Something.
You see those 9, the yellow box?
Yeah.
That's a good buy, $65.
Give me those. And you need a couple of ginger ale, you know.
Couple of gingers. Which one do you want? The Peruvian or the Costa Rica? Yeah,
How much those?
60.
Give me 2 boxes.
I come from the island of Capri, or Capri for the Americans. And a relative of my father who was with the American Chamber of Commerce came to Italy right after the war in 1945. And this gentleman asked me what I was doing. And I told him that besides going to school to learn English, I also had a little business of my own. I was going around to these factories that they made espadrilles, those shoes, and collect 15 pairs from one fellow and 20 from another. And I would go to Naples and sell these espadrilles. They looked at me and they said, would you like to come to America? Now, 1945, America is everything. So, without asking my parents, I said, yes. Here we are. Mr. Spiros, thank you. Now, this gentleman and I know each other for 45 years?
50 years?
50 years.
Yeah, definitely. 50.
We started to do business with each other when we were at the old Washington Market.
People had to work really hard years ago. No jacks, only hand trucks. Hand trucks and double the size of the box, 3 times the size of the boxes.
And the roads were cobblestone.
That's right, yes.
The market was down on Washington Street, from Canal Street down to Chambers Street. We needed a bigger market, and the Commission of Markets chose this place because it was opened. And in March 1967, we moved to the Bronx. I was excited because it was modern. The company that I was working for dealt in groceries. And of all the items that the company handled, the chestnuts attracted me. At that time, all the fresh fruits were sold at auction. And chestnuts was one of the items that I handled. Monday before Thanksgiving, there was a rush because a lot of Americans used to stuff the turkey with chestnuts. The Monday after Thanksgiving, the market would drop. So chestnuts were not monotonous because you never know what it is. But also, they go very well with red wine. Buyers now, we have retail stores, we have wholesalers, and the business of the push cart has increased quite a bit compared to years ago. Because you have all these ethnic groups that come in, and that's where they start. There's been talk about moving the market to a different location, but I think the market belongs to New York. Also, the employees, 90% come from the Bronx.
Sal's the best man in the market.
Take it easy. Take
You
it
are,
easy.
really. Irreplaceable.
Yeah.
There's nobody like you, Sal.
Goodbye.
But guess what? You got Nick.
That's right.
Yeah, sure.
Now I sold the company to my good friend Nick Pachia, and I'm on my way out. But there is something that holds me back. I have too many friends here.
I'm telling you.
Every time that I mention that I'm about to quit, they start, no, you can't do that. I mean, everybody in the neighborhood. So I can't quit. As long as I have health, I'm good. I work 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. I didn't do that when I was young. I'm doing it now. If I wasn't here in the 70s, this building wouldn't be here now. You could bet your life on that. Besides that, because of me, this place became a historic place. It's a salsa. You know how to dance salsa? Everything that I have, I owe to my Latino in New York. So I'm not going anywhere.
Hi, how are ya? How you doing? I have a lot of respect for this community, I do. I can open my gates at 7 o'clock, and it doesn't matter who he or she is, and I say good morning, they say good morning, Miss Eva. I can even get a squirrel. The first thing I see in the morning, I go, good morning, darling, and she'll stop. So I believe there's a lot of respect in this community. I want to see activities for my children. I remember I had a skating ring. I remember I had a bowling alley. Southern Boulevard, that was all theaters. The Hunts Point Palace, there was a place to dance for us. That's what's needed. Activities for our children. Because they reach for the stars.
And he's in there by himself, just doing that.
I guess the times change. There are very few big ballroom venues left. The clientele tapered off. And they stopped hiring big bands because good big band takes a lot of money to keep up.
The way it's written.
Yeah, the way it's written, okay.
It's only added the timbal to extend a little bit more and give a nice solo there.
Okay, thank you.
Yo, well, thank you.
There you go.
Great. The work is absolutely great.
Thank you.
You earned another asopao de camarones and a pork chop.
You got me fat, man. Tito Rodriguez had a tune called Soon Soon Babae. The rhythm section would go boom, 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 boom. And that transmits to the dancers, and you could feel that floor bouncing up and down. There was a soda fountain drugstore below the Palladium, and in one of those stomping sessions, the plaster on the ceiling started falling down on the customers. So the owner of the Palladium would forbid Tito Rodriguez to play that arrangement, and he would lock it up in his safe.
He literally brought the house down.
Exactly, yeah. Lo vamos, Eddie. We're on. Here we go.
It sounds wonderful, Rick.
Here we go.
Thank you.